HBCU experience. And what I mean by that is those of us who went to HBCUs, we don't understand. And some of us who didn't go to HBCUs don't understand. So while we're understanding each other at this stage of the game, I commend you for that, because some of the things that you said on a lot of your podcasts make a whole lot of sense. Thank you.
Well, as you guys can see, as you guys can see, this is At Home on the Yard, and our esteemed Sam L. Williams has jumped in and gotten us kicked off. And so before we jump in, I do want to just pause for a moment and say why we're here and what this is about. I am Jeff McKinney, Ontegration founder, At Home on the Yard strategist, to kind of go out and solve issues. This is what this is about, is providing solutions to challenges that we see. I am joined here today on this platform. I'm fortunate, I'm grateful to be joined by these two gentlemen that we have here. We have, as I said, Mr. Sam Williams, who, Sam, I'll pause for just a moment. I'd like for you to give a bit of an introduction for yourself, and then we'll move on to White George.
Well, by introduction, my name is Samuel Williams. I graduated from Fisk University. I also attended Columbia University in the law school, and as well as at Teachers College. And so I bring, I think, a different type of experience to many things. My wife just reached over and said, I also went to Bowie State, where I have another degree from them and where I taught for 5 years. But that's not the point. The point is that I'm educated, I'm free thinking. I graduated from Fisk in history. I did all the right things that I was supposed to do back in my day. And I'm very proud that I experienced the HBCU experience. I think where we are today with that experience, with my background, I'm a trustee at Fisk. This is my second term serving as a trustee at Fisk. And I just want to say, different times, different nation. And we have to understand and respect different times, different nation. And the thing is that I want to capture myself as being bold, fluent, and provocative. That's my nature. My name is Sam Williams, and I'm sticking to it.
Sam, and just so you guys know, Sam is also the host of the Ontegration Media produced Growing in the Game. And so we've got a couple of episodes that we're getting ready to start flaring up and putting out there here soon. And so let's move on to the White George. And so before I hand over to George, I'll just say that, you know, George and I have been more than social media buds for over 2 years now. I actually look back at a podcast we did in December of 23, and I just couldn't believe that the things that we were saying there and how aligned they are today. And so this is about, you know, with Sam joining, you know, Sam has got a rich history in playing a role in this space, whether it be on nonprofits that he's founded, boards that he sat on, and then also moving at the executive level, as he stated, within the institution. And so I see George and what George is doing as almost like a fresh, modern approach that if we could merge the two, I believe that we would have something really, really powerful and modernizing as we attempt to address the challenges that I see and that we've been plagued by. So, George, if you would, could you give us your background, sir, please?
Well, succinctly, I'm a former racist, drug addict, convicted felon times 10, and ex-con. And I'm a storyteller on social media. I teach Black history, HBCUs, racism, just everyday stuff, just social observations. But history with a flair is kind of what I do. How's that?
It's one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we touched on, and I think you just kind of summed it up, is testimony and truth. In pursuit of healing, you don't get to the testimony without the truth. And so we see the challenges that are going on in society today, and we don't focus on the challenges, we focus on solutions. And so the solutions have to reside in the truth. I was having a conversation this morning, and I was saying, hey, this is how I saw this take place. And someone said, well, Jeff, that just sounds like a threat. And I said, well, but it's the truth. And they said, but yeah, sometimes the truth can sound threatening. And I was like, well, I guess it depends on who's listening and what position they stand in. For me, I am always one who chooses to stand in the lights. And so, George, I appreciate, and Sam started it off with the kind of his sentiments of what it looks like to have a fellow person, a human, that stands out in the light and confesses and says, this is who I used to be, and I have aspired and put in the work to evolve. And so kudos to you, George. I just wanted to make sure that we said that. I do want to kick off with a question for you. You just celebrated your birthday. I think it was bucket list item number 79 is what you said. I don't know if it was a joke or not. You were just there in New York at the HBCU something or another bowl. It's hard to keep up with everything you got going on. You're going to be doing some things in the future. Tell me what it's been like for you since the last time we met on one of these types of podcasts.
Well, I have in a long-term relationship. I walked 2,802 miles across America from the Apollo Theater to South Central Los Angeles. Tore my knees in the process. I've been to a total of 42 HBCUs in that time frame. I spoke on stage at the Apollo Theater. I don't know how many classes and homecomings I've been to. I have met thousands of people. I have hugged hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. I mean, shaking thousands of hands, taking thousands of selfies. Like, it has been a wild ride.
Yeah,
and I've gained about almost 1 million followers since that time period too.
Yeah. I went and looked at your numbers the other day, and I went and looked today, and I think I saw a 4,000 follower jump in a week. And so I
that's kind of slow for me, actually. On Facebook, I did 45,000 followers in the last 2 weeks. Instagram's usually anywhere from 1 to 2,000 a day. Sometimes it's 3,000-4,000 a day. I've gained 300-something thousand followers since January 7th this year on Instagram alone.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
nuts.
Yeah. I think about the times that we're in, and I don't necessarily go down and delve down into the belly of the beast. I just focused on the solutions. And when I asked you what you've been up to, you had actual data and data points and facts on what you had basically spent your time doing over the last 2 years since the last time we did one of these shows. And so I think about the opportunity that we have to unify a community around engaging and bringing the right solutions and putting them in place as a foundation to gather that data so that we can actually make better decisions and actually host more curated spaces and also learn more about people so that we can actually provide more trauma-informed services. Sam, you've been at this for a while. The other day when we were talking, you mentioned the HBCU Alliance We talked about all these kind of different organizations. Talk to us a bit around, a year ago, you and I had a conversation. You told me what your vision was. I thought it was very forward thinking. In fact, I think I'm on record saying how I thought it was something that seemed like it could have been for me. And I think you said that I should be the unifying something or another. If you remember that, you said. And so tell us what it's been like to now walk this last 12 months, see what we've done, and kind of envision what we have the opportunity to do going forward.
Well, I'll say this. It's been an interesting 12 months. I have semi-enjoyed myself and have not enjoyed myself in terms of my role in the leadership position that I hold at Fisk University. I try to be strategic in my thinking, in my movements, and in my plans. And oftentimes, what I am learning that there are a lot of people who step in front of you or try to hold you back through a hook, something to trip you up. And I'm sure that George understands this. And, you have to come to grips and think about your thoughts. The HBCU Alliance, fantastic group. I served on their national board, and they are where they want to be right now. However, as a 78-year-old person, I think, you heard that, George, we should be doing more for senior citizens like AARP. I'm also a founding member of the National Association of Blacks in Higher Education. And they take a different tone than the HBCU Alliance in that they focus on administrative training and development for their membership. I think both groups are good. The Black poets, the last poet said the revolution would not be televised. I'm in agreement with that. And what I mean by that is when that was my contemporary times when that music genre came out. And I had to look at myself and say, hey, what did these brothers actually mean? You heard the congas in the background. You heard the lyrics jumping at your face. They weren't short. They were direct to the point and said we need to move in a different direction. Being associated with that feeling and that genre, I have grown to a point to whereas I see things differently than what I saw 40 years ago. And if any of you all have been on my show or you talk about my show, it's called Growing in the Game. And what growing in the game is about is a life spectrum. You change as you grow. You do things as you grow. It's not the same. Now, I'm not saying I'm a revolutionary, but sometimes I have less patience in terms of dealing with things when I see what's surrounding us every day here in Washington, D.C. It's egregious.
Well,
that's how I look at it.
And I will say that I want to hear George's take, because each day when I see, George, you know what I thought about when I was listening to Sam? George, can you hear me?
What were you thinking about?
I said, I was thinking about how when those people show up inside of your comments and they come there for the wrong reasons, and then you decide, I don't know what your measurement is, but you decide to at some point, every so often, somebody crosses the line and it's a really short thing that takes place and it's over. And so, when I hear, Sam talking about, kind of what he sees and what he senses and how it's time to take a different approach, I felt the spirit of, kind of when you have to take a different approach. When I see you take a different approach. So, talk to me a bit about why you decide to take such a direct approach, and do you believe that now's the time for us to start taking, from a broad perspective, to really start taking an outward direct approach to solving some solutions that we see at a macro level?
I think I'm sick of the propaganda that's been fed to me by media, from advertising, from the left, from the right. I just got tired of it. And second, prison taught me a lot about pride and ego. And so when I talk, I try to be vulnerable, especially as a man. If I can show that, if I can drop the pride and ego, I can be direct. And I've realized the more vulnerable I am, the more authentic I am, and the more credible I am, if you will. And I just thought that's how I want to be communicated with. And I'm a firm believer in how I treat other people is exactly how I want to be treated in return. So I like directness. And I don't know, I'm sick of people saying a whole lot of things and saying nothing at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm sick of people selling their soul to say things to curry favor. And, I don't know. I'm tired of a lot of things. And I just think it's time for a direct conversation. So the only way I know how to do it is start the conversation.
Well, let me both ask you guys something, because this is something that I hear from my perspective. Over the last 5 years, I did take a really different approach to conveying my message. It was in a way that I felt compelled to do it. It makes me feel real good. Sometimes I have wings and fire and crowns on and music and poetry, and I'm doing all of these things. And I hear the chatter of some things that some people say, and those people don't necessarily understand, kind of what it is, or they don't really get the spirit of it, I suppose. And that's okay, because art is intended to provoke. And at that point, it's done its job. I've done my job at that point. Now, for the two of you, what was it about the opportunity and the vision of Ontegration and At Home on the Yard that made you guys look past or see over, kind of what the art could be misconstrued as? Sam, I thought that you first.
No, I wanted George to go there.
Okay, George, you go first.
To follow him.
I mean, I don't know. It's not something I'll judge somebody by. It doesn't have any impact or bearing on how I look at somebody. I'm quirky as hell. I don't know. It just doesn't. You do you, boo. I don't have. That's not a measuring stick for me. And I know, people trust me, people are mean on the internet. And you got to also understand this, Jeff. People project their own misery on you. Hurt people. They've never met you. They don't know you. And so for them to say something that's either cruel, mean, whatever, it's more a reflection of their character. It has nothing to do with you. I get people make so much fun of my hair, dudes do. And I'm like, you know who liked it? Your wife in my hotel room last night. And they go away. Right? So I understand what they're doing. Somebody makes fun of my weight. And I'm like, I may be fat, but you're ugly and I can go on a diet. Right? So I just don't get offended. So let them make fun of you because it drives the algorithm. That's what I say. Drink the haterade. Just keep making comments.
I love it. Sam, you have a take on that, a different take?
Well, I see us both as quiet revolutionaries. Quiet, even though we're vocal on a lot of things. I think that inside us, quietly, we seek change and we want betterment of change. And I think that all of us look at the world in fair play. Now, we know it's not fair play, and I think that's saying in terms of what people say when you go out and you talk and you think and you listen. But I think we want the right things for America. And, having been born here, and I'm a citizen, and ICE is hopefully not going to try to come after me because of some credentialing mishap or whatever. I will say this. America is still America, and I'm proud to be an American.
Absolutely.
I want also to emphasize that through the years from the 60s when I was at Fisk, the civil rights movement progressed a great deal. Could we have gotten more? Yes. Could we have been a little bit more revolutionary in our approach? And when I say revolutionary, I don't necessarily mean coming up with firearms and all that kind of stuff. What I'm talking about is intellectual revolution. Thinking of how to develop the good aspects of HBCUs or just regular institutions, Columbia, and put them at the forefront of where society is. This current administration is going after some of the bastions of higher education and taking away research money. We all know that research is necessary in order to change the game. We got to grow in that game. And that's the most important thing. What do you say about that, George?
I get to talk or the opportunity to speak to a lot of university presidents and provosts, et cetera. And with the current climate, I think you are going to survive. You're going to have to separate and elevate in how you go about things. I look at a lot of the campuses, and I think I'm talking probably more literal here, but there's so much that can be done from inmates getting their degrees, right? And some of these campuses already tapped into it because it's virtual students. You don't have to have the manpower on campus, and grants and families pay for the education, right? And your recidivism drops to almost nothing once you get a bachelor degree. It's like less than 4%. I think it's 9% with an associate's, less than 1 with a master's and PhD. So that's one way I think. Start embracing new technologies, corporate partnerships. Like, the game has changed, right? We see a lot of PWIs are now big corporate branded things. There's so much money flowing in. Now, granted, one of the things that have made HBCUs so amazing is they've done so much with so little, right? So you do realize bringing in a lot of money is going to affect the culture. I just don't know, some people, the trade-off, how much of a trade-off it's going to be.
Well,
I just opened went down a rabbit hole with you, didn't I?
No, George, it's almost like there's a spirit within you that's speaking, and it's connected to mine, and it was connected to Sam's, because that is a great segue into, you talked about tech, you talked about solutions, you talked about I always have problems with this word, recidivism. I always have problems with it. You talked about, creating a solution to address an issue with data that already substantiates why these things should be considered. For us, we focus on tech. There's app. I'm working on a grant right now that's focused on how AI can be used to address challenges, and there's no limitations on it. And so those areas that you're talking about, we were just on with Madam President on Hey Girl 2 weeks ago, and she was talking about the exact same thing. And so now that I know this is something that you're passionate about, we've got to connect you guys, because the two of you together in that area, who knows what we can do. I know we can do more than we can do apart, because it actually says where we gather together and actually move in purpose, then we have a multiplying impact. From a spiritual law standpoint, that's, no one can refute that. And so I think we're at an incredible inflection point. And so I do want to transition to talk a bit about, for the last 2 years, I talked about we had been in contact, working alongside of each other. And George, whenever I've called, you responded. And coming up here in November, we plan to do some other things. So George, let's talk a bit about, why you're, what you've learned by going on to and spending time on HBCU campuses. And then we'll talk a bit about kind of what our plans are for November.
What have I learned? You don't have enough time on this podcast. I learned, I had a friend of mine's son who was like he said, he goes, I was a super smart black kid in a white high school. And he goes, once I went to Morehouse, I was just a kid in college. And that stuck with me. And then, I had other ones that I could come be my authentic self when I got to an HBCU. I wasn't white teachers, other white students. Not that I didn't have friends or enjoy myself, but I didn't get the authentic Black American experience. There's that. Then there's the culture, because every single school I've been on, every campus has a different energy. And I've been to 42 of them, so I think that starts to make me near an expert on campus visits, right? So they all have their own separate energy. And collectively, it's a different energy. People at Florida and Georgia run into each other in a bar. They're not like SEC. But if Fisk runs into FAMU, you're like, what's up, man? You may talk a little noise, but it's all love, right? Yeah, and you got Hampton and Howard. They're just like angry cousins, right? But they still ride or die together. But my point is that there's this massive network. There's so much history hidden there, and people in my community don't understand it. So I don't know. I just see this beauty I never knew existed, even though it's been around for 140 years before I was born, 1837 Cheney. It's changed me in so many profound ways. It's opened doors for me. It's opened my mind, relationships. Like, it's enriched my life, all because I chose to go look at an HBCU. I mean, the power of God's will and his plan is bewildering to me, but here we are.
Sam.
Yes, sir.
We talked about all of these other things that you've done, HBCU Alliance and the other organizations. One of the points that I just heard George make was about the synergy across the culture that's not just aligned to a specific institution. And so when I see a brother from Morehouse and I'm like, hey, Fisk, is love on site. George just said that. And so you and I have talked about, very directly speaking, the opportunity we have with At Home on the Yard to be almost like a hub of resources that we are able to centralize mentorship, business directory services, curated special events, and perhaps even do some in-person activations, taking a step further than what we did last year at Homecoming. Is this something that is far-fetched? When I've been talking about this, many people say, Jeff, what are you talking about? Tell me, is this something that's far-fetched, Sam?
I don't think it is far-fetched, Jeff. I think this. When I first heard you talk about your vision in terms of On the Yard and all the other networks that you work with, I listened. I said, this young man has insight, a great attitude, and he needs to be heard. Now, oftentimes, that doesn't necessarily get you heard, but I will say this. I'm going back to what George said. I look at going to the different cultures of HBCUs as soup. Everybody makes a pot of soup differently. Yeah. We can all make chicken noodle soup, but it would taste different. So the thing is that the melting pot of the HBCU experience, coupled with AI, and I'll go back into that, is a wonderful thing. But I will say this: when I was at Columbia, I didn't get that same experience, and I felt a little out of sorts, but not out of sorts. You know, fantastic school, brilliant minds, just different in the approaches that everyone took in terms of how they made their own pot of soup. So, with that in mind, I will say this. Even though I'm a member of a fraternal organization, a HBCU fraternal organization, I can understand and appreciate all the members of the Divine Nine. And as a member in good standing, 60 years this year, you know, I have found that in addition to that soup process at HBCUs, at football games, basketball games, just outside in the general public, that has heightened and enhanced my awareness of being a person who believes that experience, HBCU experience, would work well for all people.
Yeah. Well, please pause right there, because what we know and what we plan is in November. And George, you may not, maybe you've seen a story or two or something about homecoming or whatever the case is, but when I show up, me and my homies, when we show up at homecoming, it's only one group. It's only one set of us that do it like we do it. And there's only one Sam that does it like he does it. Everybody is individualistically who they are. And I am over the top excited to share the plan of George stepping on to homecoming with us. I think your brand of storytelling, I'll say this on air. When I kind of sent some details about the conversation, very quickly, George responded back and said, "Jeff, I don't follow scripts." And I said, well, it's not a script. It's just making sure we're on the same page. And I'm with you. I don't follow scripts either. And that was the perfect answer. And so to tell you what we're going to do specifically, I can tell you we won't be following a script. But I can tell you that we're going to be having a whole lot of fun. And we're going to be living in the light and the truth. And so one of the reasons why this is such a huge accomplishment, I would say, for me and, kind of the Once Integration vision, is because we are about supporting other people's purposes. And George was very, very clear to me in our very first conversation. Like, I saw him with no followers, talking about HBCUs, and I commented we need to talk. And he responded right away, and we were on a phone call within 15 minutes. And I could hear the passion in his voice then that said, hey, look, this is somebody that I want to support. And so to have the opportunity and for him to be willing to say, Jeff, yeah, I do want to come and experience Fisk University Homecoming with you and with the alumni. That's something that I'm really, really excited to see. So I will say to George, are there any special asks or requests that we can start to work on, or are we just gonna roll and figure it out as we go?
There's I got to see my guy, obviously, Dr. Brian Kent Wallace, physics professor. And I'd like to meet Kenny Anderson. I've never met Kenny Anderson. I do believe there's some gymnasts.
Coach Kenny's not there anymore.
There. Is he not?
No, Coach Kenny, I think he's been gone 2 years now.
I'll call him and see if he'll come back. How's that?
That'll work. And you've got what's his name? Older gentleman, really, really thin. I think he's photography, something to do with art. He's been there forever. He's older than Methuselah. What is his name? Wears a baseball cap. Has to be on camera. He's a professor.
I don't know who that.
Oh
He's
my
in the
God. I
art
love the guy. I
department.
think the guy's great. He's amazing. Yeah, he takes photography, I believe. Oh my God, I can't remember his name. He avoided my camera so effectively. Like it was a game trying to get him on camera. And he just, because he tested me. He's like, why do you care about history? Why do you like HBCUs? Like he was challenging me. I'm like, well, blah, 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 blah. This was 2 years ago. All right, we good. I can't believe I can't remember his name. I can see his face, gray-headed. Looks like he runs. I joke he's over 100. He's not. He's probably 65 or 70.
I'm gonna find out. Keep going.
Cat. Anyway, I didn't know where I was going with that. Yeah, so the gymnastics team, and just catch the culture. I mean, it's hard for me to say because I don't know. I just record what I see and where I go and what I do. And it strikes me that this is something I need to capture.
So,
well, I want you also to think about this, George, when you come to Nashville. Think about what kind of suit that you'll find on that campus. You know, is it beef? Is it chicken? Is it fish? Is it vegetable? Or whatever. And I want to have a discussion with you about your perceptions, about what you see and what you
I've been there
feel.
once.
twice.
Been there once already. You know that. I covered it twice. Yeah, actually, a couple times.
Yeah.
Well, you know, but the thing
Okay.
is, this time it's going to be different because we're going to help stimulate your mind, your heart, and your soul in a different direction by asking you to add a little bit more ingredients
Oh yeah.
to what you do, and we'll appreciate that. Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
did a segment on Cheney. I love that segment. And you know how you explained how it evolved and how it came about and the people that you met and all of the nuances of your approach to your show was fantastic. And I think that it was sincere and honest. And that said a lot about your personhood to me. And I'm not trying to ingratiate you to the point, but I'm just being sincere. I just wanted to just say thank you. That's all.
Yeah, I will say.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I will say that we do for homecoming turn up a different way, and so just the ordinary day on the yard with just ordinary, folks that just walk by, they are Fiskites. But then there is Jeff McKinney from class of 2002. There's Samuel L. Williams, class of
68.
And universally known to be birds of a different feather. And so I'm looking forward to it. For everybody out there, I guess we should tell them how to find George. Well, before we go, I do also want to make sure that you guys recognize you have a overlapping friend. So, George, I sent a note to Sam earlier and asked him if he knew, is it pronounced Loki Mulholland?
Mm-hmm. Loki.
Yes. Yeah, him. He's a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
That's what you are?
I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. His mother was a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And she was one of the original Freedom Riders, which I guess influenced him in terms of his journey, in terms of joining a fraternity. Now, I will say this. I've met him over the years. I've shaken his hand. And I felt his energy. And you know something? It was no different than the other energy with the other brothers at Omega Functions.
He's a proud Q. Brown cube.
I know.
Brown
And
cube.
watch this. I love that because so am I.
Well, he's welcome, George. If you want to bring him, if you want to extend the invite or whatever the case is, we are going to have a blast in Nashville. I want to thank you both for joining at home on the yard. For the audience, we will come out with some more specific details around what you can expect during homecoming. I could tell you that I will not be working, and so it will be us having a good time. It is homecoming for Pete's sake. And so I need the time. It's been a very, very heavy time and set of experiences, and the weight that I feel that I've been carrying. I sense that it's been that way for all of us. The world has been attempting to get us to feel as though there is no path forward. I would tell you that that is absolutely not the truth. And so one of the reasons why I'm proud to have these two gentlemen on with us and on this platform is because they emphatically believe with me that there is hope and there is a path forward. And we are actively working those paths daily. And so we're aligning with other people with the same energy. There's no defeat that I see in front of us. What I see is a very, very bright light. And I also like to call it the promised land. And so if you're looking to make sure that you have the right resources and the right solutions and the right community to support you pursuing your purpose and you making sure that you have the right resources to just overall live well. Well-being is everything. Then that's the reason why we envision these spaces and Ontegration as a whole. So thank you both again for joining. I'm Jeff McKinney. He's Sam. That's George. Peace.